He betrayed me with my best friend and stole $1.5 million from the company we built together. But in Los Angeles, secrets don't stay buried. The night he stood on stage accepting an award he didn't deserve, I made sure the whole city heard the truth. And they applauded me for it. My name is Claire Bennett, and if you had asked anyone in Los Angeles 2 years ago, they would have said I had the perfect life. A loving husband, a thriving business, a house in the hills with glass walls overlooking the city lights. But perfect lives are the easiest to fake. It started with whispers, the kind that crawl under your skin even when you try to ignore them. A late phone call. A weekend conference in Palm Springs. I told myself I was paranoid. I told myself that love meant trust. But trust without truth is just blindness dressed in hope. My husband, Mark Bennett, was the golden boy of LA's tech scene. He had that confident grin that made investors line up and journalists swoon. Together we built Novaline Studios, a creative software company that helped small filmmakers manage projects. It was our dream, our child. Until I realized he was using it to fund someone else's lifestyle, and someone else's bed. It was late one night when I walked into his office. He was asleep on the couch, laptop open, a half-finished bourbon beside him. I don't know what made me look. Maybe intuition, maybe pain disguised as curiosity. But on his screen was an email chain with our accountant, and a name that wasn't mine. Samantha Price. Our marketing director. My best friend since college. The thread wasn't about marketing. It was about money. Wire transfers. Shell accounts. $1.5 million, reallocated for discretion. Discretion. The word stabbed like a knife. I scrolled further and found hotel receipts, jewelry invoices, and one phrase that made my stomach twist. Let's keep Claire out of this. She wouldn't understand. He was right. I didn't understand, until I did. The betrayal wasn't just romantic. He was laundering company funds, signing my name on approvals, risking everything we had built. And doing it all with the woman who had stood beside me at my wedding. In Los Angeles, appearances are currency. Mark and I still went to events, smiled for the cameras, pretended to be a power couple. Every photograph felt like a lie I was trapped inside. But behind my polite smiles, I was documenting everything. Emails, bank transfers, call logs, a quiet digital paper trail of deceit. I didn't confront him. Not yet. I wanted him to believe I was blind, to keep underestimating me. Because revenge isn't anger. It's patience, sharpened into precision. I created a new folder on my laptop called Truth. Every night I added to it. And every morning, I rehearsed my smiles. Then one afternoon, Samantha walked into my office with a coffee and her usual bright grin. "Long day, huh?" she said. Her tone was casual, her eyes too kind. I wondered how long she'd been practicing that look. I smiled back and said, "You have no idea." 3 months later, Mark was nominated for Entrepreneur of the Year at the California Business Excellence Awards. The same man who had stolen $1.5 million from his own company would be honored for integrity and innovation. The irony was poetic. He asked me to attend, of course. "Claire, it'll look bad if you don't come," he said, straightening his tie. "People love us together." Love us. The words tasted like dust. That night, I stood in front of the mirror, staring at my reflection in a midnight blue gown. I wasn't dressing for him. I was dressing for the ending. Because by then, I had built more than evidence. I had built a plan. In Los Angeles, stories spread faster than fire. I reached out to a quiet contact I'd made months earlier, Detective Maria Lowe, from the LAPD's Financial Crimes Division. I'd shown her everything. The fake invoices, the transfers, the forged signatures. She had built a solid case but needed timing, proof he was still moving money. He was. Mark thought he was invincible. He scheduled a final transfer the day before the awards ceremony. Maria said, "You get him to brag, we'll do the rest." I didn't just want his arrest. I wanted the truth to live publicly, so no one could rewrite it. So I prepared a USB drive with everything. The transactions, the affair photos, even a recorded confession from a careless voice memo he once left on his phone. And I handed a copy to Maria, keeping one for myself. Then, I contacted the award show's event producer, under the guise of arranging a surprise tribute video for my husband. I said I'd send them the final version labeled Novaline Vision Reel. It wasn't a vision reel. It was the truth. The Beverly Regency ballroom glittered like a movie set. Golden lights, champagne flutes, and the hum of expensive conversations. Mark stood in a custom tuxedo, laughing with executives who thought he was a genius. Samantha was there too, in silver satin, pretending not to know me. I smiled when our eyes met. She looked away first. The host's voice boomed through the speakers. And the Entrepreneur of the Year award goes to Mark Bennett of Novaline Studios. Applause erupted. Cameras flashed. He kissed my cheek for the crowd and strutted onto the stage. While he adjusted the microphone, I gave a small nod to the A/V technician by the side curtain, the man who believed he was about to play a tribute reel. My heart hammered like thunder. The screen behind Mark flickered. "Thank you," he began. "This journey has been about innovation, about trust, about family." The lights dimmed. The screen brightened. The video began with a Novaline logo, and then emails appeared. Subject line, "Transfer complete. Keep Claire out of this." Gasps rippled through the ballroom. Mark froze. His voice faltered. Then came the screenshots. Bank statements showing $1.5 million moved to a Cayman account under Mark B. Enterprises. Laughter died. The room turned to silence thick enough to choke on. And then came the photos. Him and Samantha at a Palm Springs resort, time-stamped during conference week. The video didn't need narration. The evidence spoke for itself. I stood up from our table, calm and composed. Every camera turned to me. Every whisper carried my name. Samantha bolted for the exit, her heels clattering like gunshots. On stage, Mark stammered. This isn't. But it was. Behind him appeared his own recorded voice. "We'll hide it offshore. No one will trace it back to us. Claire signs everything." The audience gasped again. Then, flashing lights, not from cameras, but from LAPD officers, filled the hall. Detective Lowe stepped forward, badge in hand. "Mark Bennett, you are under arrest for embezzlement, forgery, and corporate fraud." The crowd parted like water as she cuffed him right there under the spotlight. The applause that followed wasn't for him. It was for justice. The headlines the next morning were merciless. LA Tech CEO arrested at award gala. Wife exposes $1.5 million fraud. My phone exploded with messages. From reporters, from investors, from people who had once ignored me. But I didn't answer any. I only called one person, my lawyer. Within a week, I had control of the company again. Mark's shares were frozen. Samantha resigned in disgrace. But revenge isn't the same as closure. For nights, I lay awake replaying the moment, the crowd's silence, his face collapsing. And beneath the satisfaction was grief. You don't just lose a husband when you uncover a lie that big. You lose the life you thought you had. Months later, the case went to court. The same city that had cheered us on as a power couple, now lined up to watch him fall. I sat behind the prosecutor, composed, calm, and deliberate. Mark avoided my eyes. His lawyers tried to argue that I had fabricated evidence, but the financial trail, the recordings, and the LAPD seizure order told the truth louder than I ever could. Samantha testified, crying, trying to paint herself as another victim. But perjury has a way of revealing itself. Her testimony crumbled under the weight of her own emails. When the judge pronounced the sentence, 7 years in state prison and restitution of $1.5 million, Mark finally looked at me. His expression wasn't anger. It was disbelief that I had the strength to finish what he started. I didn't smile. I just stood, turned, and walked out of that courtroom into the blinding Los Angeles sunlight. Freedom is strange when you've lived under someone's shadow for so long. I sold the house in the hills, the one built on lies, and moved into a sunlit apartment overlooking the city skyline. Smaller, simpler, but real. I rebuilt Novaline Studios with a new team and a new purpose. Transparency, fairness, and creative freedom. We donated 10% of profits to women entrepreneurs rebuilding after financial abuse. Because revenge only becomes power when you use it to lift others. Every time I looked at the city lights now, they didn't remind me of deception. They reminded me of resilience. 6 months after the trial, the California Business Excellence Awards held their next ceremony. An email appeared in my inbox. Ms. Bennett, would you be willing to present this year's award for ethical leadership? I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I typed back one word. Yes. That night, I stood on the same stage where my husband's empire had fallen. The same cameras, the same crowd. But this time, the applause was mine. I didn't prepare a speech. I just looked out over the audience and said, "The truth always wins. Sometimes slowly. Sometimes painfully. But it wins when you stop protecting the people who destroy your peace." The room rose to its feet. For the first time, I didn't feel like someone's wife or someone's victim. I felt like me. It's been 2 years now. Mark's appeal failed. He'll be eligible for parole in 4. Samantha left the city. Rumor says she sells luxury homes in Nevada under her maiden name. I wish them both peace, the kind that comes only after truth. As for me, I found something rarer than revenge. I found clarity. I still walk along Mulholland Drive sometimes, where the city glows like a circuit board. I think about that night, the crowd gasping, the lights flashing, the truth finally breaking free. And I smile, not because I won, but because I stopped hiding. People ask if I'd do it again. If I'd risk my reputation, my marriage, my company to expose him publicly. I tell them this. When someone steals your life, you don't take it back quietly. You take it back loudly enough that no one ever doubts your strength again. And if you're still here listening to my story, thank you. Maybe you've been betrayed, silenced, or made to doubt your worth. Don't. The truth is your greatest weapon, and timing is your sharpest blade. Never be afraid to let the truth have an audience. If you felt this story, if it gave you courage or clarity, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Revenge Uncut. Your support helps us bring more real stories of justice, strength, and redemption to life. Help us reach 5,000 subscribers. And together, let's make sure every truth finds its voice.